Hi guys, this is Daniel Alexander Cannon here on the Supernatural Show. The show that is not for entertainment purposes. And today is going to be a good example of how we're not going to entertain you. But what we are going to do is we're going to explore some concepts, you might say. Some concepts that some of you have thought about a little bit because you've heard us talking about a little bit of it. But we're going to go deeper today. And the reason why we try to go into these topics is because there is greater truth to be found beyond even what we're talking about. But you have to discover these pieces in order to see the whole puzzle, the whole shebang. And so we're pressing forward into looking at things that have been held beyond the veil for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, maybe possibly have never even been discovered. But we can see it, and I believe that we're correct. We're going to be talking somewhat, you might call it theory, okay, today. But there's a lot there. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the trees. I'm talking about why is it that all of the previous cultures of the world who depicted or drew a depiction of what's the word I'm looking for? Basically the image of our environment, our world that we exist in. Why is it that all of them had, or either most of them, one way or another, had a symbolic tree in the center of creation? I think the word I'm looking for is cosmology. Okay, and but first, before we jump into the cosmology of the world, jump into the trees, jump into the water, and before we do that, though, let's introduce everybody that we've got here today. One, we've got our supernatural moderators. We've got Super Dave 44 in the house, and we greatly love our brother Dave, and we thank him for taking his time and putting up with us because we're a mess before the show trying to get things all functioning correctly and getting this repetitive pattern down that we have to learn now. And most of it is me just delaying things because my brain is having a hard time learning and memorizing every little detail of the highly complex system we're using now to broadcast worldwide for free, virtually, except for our internet connection and maybe a couple of little things, but that's pretty much it. But we're allowing ourselves to be able to grow and expand in ways that we never could before. So thank you, Super Dave, for being here. Mike Smith is also here with us again. I can see you in the comments, Mike, and thank you for your help and Dave's help prior to the show, trying to get the pre-show Beyond the Veil working correctly. If you don't know what the pre-show Beyond the Veil is, well, I don't want to push you over there too much yet, but basically, because we want to get it functioning exactly right, and we get one thing functioning exactly right, like the audio and or the video, and the other starts having a problem, and it's just a learning curve, and we'll get it though. But thank you guys for helping out with that. We also have here today, we have Shannon. Shannon is our supernatural co-host. Shannon has been with the show since the very beginning, the first episode, I believe, or pretty close to it. Right, Shannon?
Yep.
Right, Shannon?
Yep. Can you hear me? Can you hear
yeah,
me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
I don't think you have to get quite that personal with your mic up that close. That kind of creates a little overcharge of the mic, I think. But yeah, Shannon's been with us here from the beginning of the Supernatural Show. We also have Miss Kim here with us today as well, here You can see her avatar, I guess you'd call it, on screen. Miss Kim, she is our in-training co-director. I'm in the process of figuring all this stuff out, and then some of it I'm going to have her running. She already is running some things, but I'm going to have her running more things in the background as I'm able to train her how to be the co-director. And you'd say, well, why do you need a co-director? Trust me, you need all the help you can get trying to run what I'm doing here, because we're not just doing what an average YouTuber is doing. In a way we are, but where we're wanting to take this to is a whole nother level. And in order to do that, we've got to have support. And like with Mike and Dave and Miss Kim, and of course Shannon, our co-host. And we also have the Roxy Files from the RoxyFiles.com. We have Roxy in the house here with us again today.
Hello,
And
hello.
Roxy is an enormous amount of great help to the show and to me, and really to anybody that is blessed enough to get to speak with her, spend any time talking to her. She's just an amazing person. Matter of fact, she is responsible for helping even me, a little drink of water, expand some thought processes and some theories, you might say, about the trees. Not too long ago, we were talking about the trees, and for many of us, this goes back probably close to 10 years now. There was a gentleman that, and many of us even before that had read in the Bible that the trees of old, like the one that is described in the Bible in Lebanon, was massive, and that entire multiple cities existed underneath its boughs, and that it was just massive. And it seemed so outrageous at the time. Until about, I guess it was about 10 years ago, a gentleman, and I can't remember his name right now, unfortunately, but he came out with a video, and he called it, There Are No Trees on Flat Earth, I think is what he called it.
Yes.
And, yeah?
Yes, I've seen it.
Yeah, yeah. And I was kind of down that rabbit hole a little bit, but I'm going to give him credit because he really did a fantastic job of showing us that there are remnants of these giant trees all over our world, okay, all over everywhere. And he did a really good presentation. I bet that you can still find it somewheres. If you can't find it on YouTube,
It
you
is.
can find it.
I watched it 3 days ago. I looked it up.
Did you?
Yes, I
Okay.
did.
So it's still on YouTube, and they can find it by searching "There Are No Trees on Flat Earth," right?
Yes.
Okay.
I found it through an
And
article I ran across from somebody else.
no matter what you think about the highly apparently divisive concept of round ball or flat Earth or all this kind of stuff, just ignore that for the moment and go look at it to understand that there are and were giant trees all over this planet, all over this planet, as you might say. You know, planet, like a cigarette, means a smaller version of something that is bigger.
Well,
Yeah.
and my thing on this is to me this is a theory that I'm continually working on. I was not there. I did not see it with my own eyes, but these are the 6,000 pieces of the puzzle that I've been putting together for quite some time. Because it's not just one piece of information, it's thousands of pieces of information that overlap and just make congruent sense. Geologically, everything.
Right? Give me 1 second.
Go ahead. And it's a theory. I mean, I wasn't there. I didn't see it, but I've done a lot of research on this. what we're going to talk about today just makes sense. Scientifically,
I got some kind of an echo.
we are
Can y'all guys
creatures.
confirm? Can y'all guys confirm in the comments for us, maybe Super Dave, Mike, how is the audio sounding?
They said it sounded good. I've already asked them when
Did you
Kim said
do
she had
that?
an echo.
Yeah, if you listen on, and it may be very possible because of she's right here, and there may be some kind of a feedback thing happening with her.
Roxy and Shannon asked one to hit this to me.
For you,
Yeah.
but apparently not on the stream.
Yeah, nobody
So
else is getting an echo except
nobody
her.
else is getting it. Trying to think how that could be corrected easily. I don't know easily. Not sure.
I think it's in play.
Well, it's something, but nobody else is hearing it. But okay. Um, do you have your video playing over here? Is that audio on over there? Because you may have two audio feeds coming into your headphones, is what I'm thinking. I can see myself moving, so it is on. Roxy, can you continue to talk for a moment, please? One of y'all guys, you were Shannon, please. I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, when I started looking at this thing, if you take
You have the audio on.
the mathematical equations of what these trees could have been, because if you take some of the things that we see as flat top mountains and you measure them off in a tree stump, well, the biggest trees we really know of are redwood trees. So if you compare a redwood tree to what that, just Pilot Mountain in North Carolina for one, if you took that, or the biggest one in the world, I can't remember it's at, I think it's over in Africa or somewhere, but you multiply it, these trees would have reached our atmosphere up there. I mean, like 747s would have had to fly around them. Fighter jets would have had to miss them. They were massive. So if you take that into account, well, something that large uses resources. And one of the biggest resource anything of that size would need is water. Well, then you go from, it was using a lot of water, it was storing a lot of water, and we see that waterfalls are coming out of the top of these, and I put this in quotes, mountains, which are tree stumps. Imagine how massive that root system would have been and how far. I don't know, everybody's got a tree in your yard, and if you live in the South and you got a pine tree, you know that a pine tree root, it's all the way 2 acres away tearing up something over there that it shouldn't be.
Or the old big old oaks, their roots reach forever.
Yeah.
And
Well, think about the cavern systems in this country. Every time, I don't know who's going on a mountain vacation, but when you go on a mountain vacation, which we do, which is up in Tennessee, Knoxville, North Carolina area, when you go up in there, the one thing you do is you go visit the caves and the caverns, which are right next to the big rocks that the water's coming out of. Well, if there used to be a massive tree root there and it rotted and disappeared over years, it left a cavern and caves with crystal stalagmites and structures inside of it that you see, which are the biological remnants of a tree.
And a lot of y'all guys kind of get some of that now. See, because this road we're going down is, okay, we discovered these massive trees. Okay, well, there's more to be seen. So then we said, one day it hit me that, wait a minute, if our mountains, a lot of our mountains, and I can show you picture after picture after picture after picture of these giant plateaus that look just like tree stumps. Like the small one that we have, I think it's Arizona, wherever it is, that's the Devil's Tower. As a matter of fact, I can share the screen and we can kind of see what. Let's see here. Screen share with cams. Let's try this one. Yeah, everybody's still hearing me okay, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, okay. So, we can pull up, like we've all seen Devil's Tower. Okay. This is a small one. Whoops. Forgot the word tower. This is a small example. Okay. Very small example of what we're talking about. It is massive, truly is massive, but biblically, the trees were literally like miles and miles across.
Reach the heavens.
They were miles wide in diameter, and they were miles tall. It reached the heavens. Okay, that's biblical. Now, do we have physical evidence that we can see that shows that this theory is possible? Let's give you an example. This photo is a good photo. Give you an example of. Let's see. Here we go. This is the root fiber. This is a small tree, a small old giant tree. And this is just one of the root fibers. It's hexagonal in shape, and just like all tree root fibers are, hexagonal in shape. You can see that there's three or four, but at least three people up there standing on that fiber right there. Okay.
I remind people to think of a stick of celery, how it peels.
Yep, exactly. It's the same method, same way that things work in this world. Okay. And so if you've got something that's that massive, that three people, really probably, there are a couple people could be standing there, but if three people could stand on the fiber, and this is a small example, what would the big examples look like? They would be miles and miles wide, and they would be miles and miles tall. Now, okay, let's assume that all of us here aren't crazy, and let's assume that that's true, that there were and still are the remnants of these giant trees all over the world. There was a day when it hit me. I was out back and I was messing with. My neighbor gave me a big stump of lighter wood. It's just the remnants of a pine tree stump, the part that was kind of mostly underground. That had been dug up, and he had it, and he gave it to me, which I was grateful to get a stump of lighter wood, because it's $10 for a bundle this big, basically. If you go down to the store and try to buy it. So, I have this thing, and I'm messing with it, and I peeled it off, and I've done it before, and I smelled it. But I smelled it with new eyes, and a new brain, and a new way of looking at things. When I smelled it, I smelled gasoline. And my brain went to work. It said, holy shamoles, we've got the roots of trees that smell like gasoline. The trees are storing massive amounts of energy under the earth. And if this pine tree stored this much energy that you can just strike a match and stick to it and it goes woof and catches on fire, because it's got gasoline in it, hydrocarbons. Okay, if that's going on, then what else is there? So, okay, if the trees were massive, then you've got coal, because if you look at coal, it comes out of veins in the ground. Veins,
Gold.
like roots. Gold comes out of veins in the ground as well, and that comes from the trees as well. It exists in the. If you ever cut a tree and you see that white liquid that's coming out, That's like the blood of the tree, and that's what contains the gold. Is if you have any gold miner that goes hunting, they'll be looking for that white rock that has a line of what looks kind of like dirty stuff in it. And I'm trying to think of the name of the actual rock that they call it, but it's because they change the names and make it whatever they want because they have this fantasy they want us to believe. And so if we've got coal veins, we've got gold veins, we've got also volcano veins or lava tubes or the literal root system of volcanoes. They even call it veins. If you go start digging, and you'll find it. I've shown it before. But we're working up, going to a new level here in a second of understanding. But you have new people, so you kind of have to explain a little bit, refresh everybody's minds. Let's type in gold veins just for a second. Okay, there you go. So these are some really good looking gold veins. Some of these images here, of course, but you'll notice that they're in that white looking rock. And why is my brain quartz? Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Quartz. They're in the quartz. The quartz is the petrified remains from the tree. And you can see, if you look at this right here, let's just pick an image. Let's just pick the one right here in front of me. If you look at that and you open it up, and I need to zoom in and get a little bit, I guess. You can see, if it's not completely clear here, but you can see it looks like wood grain running across. And then you got this gold settled into these veins. Okay. And again, this quartz is, or was, the blood of the tree. Okay. And it converts into this quartz over time. Let's look at coal veins. Coal veins. All right, let's see here. Lots of pictures. Here's probably a good one. Let's click on this one. Let's take a look at the coal vein, okay? So you got a coal vein. Now, this is obviously, again, a highly rich remnant of wood that still contains its hydrocarbons from when the tree was alive, and sucking that energy down and storing it in the tree trunk, the tree limbs, but especially in the root itself, the lower part of the tree, and the root ball, all that. It will store it in there. And so you have coal that is produced by the trees. And you have, let's see, you got like gasoline and oil. What we're talking about is just different transformation,
Breeds.
different breeds, different transformation, or what's the word I'm looking for? Transmutive states of matter. Different transmutive states of matter.
Well, essentially, if you take coal and put it up under heat and pressure, you get a diamond. So if you take a tree and put it up under heat and pressure, you get coal. The more heat and pressure you get a diamond. The most expensive things on Earth, gold, diamonds, silver, copper.
They're all coming from the trees. Here's another image example. All these different layers of this stuff. And you'd have to take some time to study, because this has all been cut down. You can see it's been drilled through and then blasted out, drilled through and blasted out, so they could see what's there and get access to the minerals that they're looking for, whether it be coal, or whether it be gold, or whether it be something else. So coal, gasoline. Let's look up oil just to see what we see, and I don't even know what we'll see. But let's look up oil veins and see. Well, we got
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok oil veins.
Ragnarok
Got,
means basically the apocalypse in Vikings.
okay.
Wow.
And if you study areas that are being, you might say, where they're putting in a lot of oil wells and stuff, you'll notice that the oil wells will tend to follow lines. They're following where the oil line, which is basically the root vein, or one of the veins that was off of that tree that held all those hydrocarbons that came from above, that came ultimately from the sun, and all other processes that create and allows that tree to store that energy. Um, and then you've got, after you have oil veins, there's this other thing called, let's see here. Let's try this word. Let's try lava veins. Lava veins. And some of you've heard me talk about this before, and yeah, we're going further than this too. But again, this is somewhat of a little review. Um,
Too,
so you've got it.
Mud Fossil
Go ahead.
University. Mud Fossil
Mm-hmm.
University goes into great extents on the chemical compounds of all of these things that are found within these mud fossiled tree stumps and giant remains. And if anybody's ever interested in checking out his channel, he has a lot of awesome knowledge, a lot of evidence, and it's all the stuff that we're saying, just a bit more extensive.
Yeah, he does a really good job and he goes places that even I
Right?
haven't been there yet. He talks about the remnants, the petrified remains of what looks like what he says it looks like. It is really impressive, like dragons and giant fish and giant all kind of stuff. And it's hard to deny, because once you realize that the world itself, the soil under your feet, is just literally a graveyard of all previous life that has been on this world before, going back all the way back as far as this world existed. Everything that lived is dead now under our feet, basically, when it comes to things that were alive as like how we are. Okay, I'm not talking about necessarily spirits and stuff, but although you never know about that too. But the dirt, if you go out and just pick up a handful, everything in your hand was alive. Not just once, many times. Maybe it was a tree this time. Some of those minerals was maybe in an Indian running around here hundreds of years ago. Maybe it was in a woolly mammoth 1,000 years ago. Who knows? It's the thing is realizing that the earth is the remnants of everything, and everything was alive. And literally, we're made out of that same thing. Our bodies are. Not our spirit, not our soul, but our bodies are as well. So where I'm kind of getting to here is, they want to give us these images. Let's just pull up one of their images here. They want us to see this. What do they want to show us? Because they're the scientists, right? They're the smart ones. But we know that this world is led by liars and manipulators and believes, and they want to deceive us and make us believe what they want us to believe, because they don't want us to discover literally the things that we're talking about on this show right now. If you look at this example here, it's representative in a way, but it's ultimately wrong, because down below this ancient tree stump, you would have the remnants, like the lighter wood. Okay, you would have the remnants of that giant tree, and each tree, depending on what breed of tree it was, would have its own way of decomposing and transitioning from one material to another over time. But in some cases, you're going to have situations where the materials that are there are so volatile that the tree ends up turning into a volcano. And there's very clear evidence of this all over the world. I've shown this in previous videos, so that's why I'm not trying to go in depth and prove what we're talking about here. But the evidence is overwhelming that it's all over the world like this. And the trees, just like Hawaii, or the Hawaiian Islands, that was a row of trees. And what you have left is the remnants there, and there's all this heat and gases and everything in water, especially water, because we're getting ready to come to water. There were all these gases and everything that are under the ground, and when they transmute over thousands of years, and if it's the right kind of tree and the right kind of conditions, you end up with it wanting to bubble up and come out. And sometimes it will bubble up and come out with an explosion, especially if it comes up and it's bubbling out and there's a pocket of water that happens to be in the way of it coming out. And because if that heat hits that water, you get an expansion of H2O expanding into gas form, and a huge steam explosion, and blows the top of the tree stump off, and you have this explosive volcano. Now, we've already been down this rat hole a number of times and explained this, and ultimately I'm going to have a documentary that does this in a professional way of explaining all of this. But for now, we're taking you along the ride of trying to discover more of these pieces, okay?
You know,
So,
a really good example, Daniel, of this,
uh-huh.
of what you're speaking of, is in Exodus in the Bible, when uh, the Israelites, the Hebrews, were starting their journey, you know, from the Red Seas going into the desert further to Mount Sinai. They stopped along the way, and they were all complaining of thirst. There was no water. They're in the middle of the desert. But Moses, you know, splits that rock, and it literally just erupts with massive amounts of water, enough to fill that whole basin area for them to have enough water to survive. Which is one of the great
And
miracles. But that's like that same concept. It just shot out. It was already in there.
he was up on a high place, likely the remnant of a tree, and he was up there, and of course Father knows the truth about the water below and all these things, and it being stored the way it's stored. And of course he struck the stone, and supernaturally it was given the power to summon a breach in that water that was there, and just spews out. Roxy started talking about it earlier, and we'll just go and get directly to the point here, very deeply, as a matter of fact, is that, and Roxy, jump in anytime you want, darling, both of you, all of you, but if you have these giant trees, and we know that even biblically it says that there are vast amounts of waters that are needed in order to service these trees. Vast amounts. And we're talking about these trees, they likely covered the entire earth. Now, and not only covered the entire earth, but covered even where we have oceans now. Okay? Where our oceans were at, you say, well, how was there trees there? Because there wasn't no oceans. The water was in the trees. You see, back in the days of before Noah, it didn't rain. And there were no massive, huge areas of giant water. There was water. There was rivers, I imagine, and some things like that. But the majority of the water for the entire world was in the canopy of the trees. It was in the trees itself. It was all or mostly there. And so, and Roxy is the one that triggered this next little step. And that is well, if all the water was in the trees, what happens when you cut the trees down?
And they stop using the water.
And they stop using the water, but their pumps are still on that pulls it. They can't push it up into their 50-mile wide, 100-mile wide. Who knows how massive these trees were, but they were massive, massive. And they were all over the world. It was like the movie Avatar. Okay? Those kind of massive, even more massive than even what they showed in there. But these trees are storing all this water. So when you cut them down, those tree pumps, the all the root systems that are down there connected to all the underground rivers and all the water that's there that's servicing that tree, it's not going to immediately cease. That water has now got to go somewhere. It's got to come out of the tree, and it's got to come up through the tree. If you go and you look at mountains right now that have massive amounts of, like a lake on top, you say, how is there a lake on top of the mountain? How is there a lake on top of the mountain? Oh, it's just rain. Well, there's multiple rivers that run out of the lake continuously. How is there a lake with waterfalls running out of it on top of the mountain? And this is all over the world.
It ain't magic.
It ain't magic. It's simple. See, that's how Father made things, is actually very simple. But the occult of this world that hides all the truth and everything, they complicate things extremely so that you can never figure it out. But once you figure out that actually things are very simple, it's a lot easier.
Well,
so now you've got all these trees cut down all around the world. Let's see. Go ahead, Roxy. I'm going to pull up an image. You go ahead.
If you think about the fact of how much water these trees were storing and how much water it would have been having to use to produce energy, which was to produce oxygen and eat up the carbon monoxide, just like they do today, the oxygen level would have been in the 37+% range. We currently operate at about 21%. When you take animals and you put them in a terrarium and you reduce their oxygen, the next generation of those animals will get smaller to compensate for the reduced oxygen. But if you go back to the water, all of that water, let's say that instead of the oceans being as high as they are now, you pull the oceans way back. So there's a lot more land and less water. Well, all of a sudden something is filling that water because it stays enough, to help Earth survive. But all of a sudden we're not using that water, so that water is always replenishing, but now nothing's using, plus it's flowing back into itself in a circulatory system out of the waterfalls and the lakes and the rivers. So now all of a sudden the water level rises because what was using that water is not there.
Remind me too, Roxy, what is the makeup of water? And we breathe this oxygen stuff, right? And and other things that are in the air. But what happens if you kill off all the trees and then there's all the elements that used to provide a different mixture of oxygen for, and these massive trees were providing all this oxygen. What happens if you change that mixture and you have all the water now freely flowing out of the trees, and you have the air, uh, the content, what I'm trying to say is the content of the air, meaning the oxygen mix, which is what you're talking about, would have all changed. So now you've got a situation where the literal, like, it's believed that the oxygen level now is lower, right?
Well,
But,
amber samples from back then, which would be petrified tree sap, when
mm-hmm,
amber solidifies, sometimes you'll see samples of amber with, bugs in it or whatever. Some of them have
mm-hmm,
air pockets in them. The
mm-hmm,
testing of those air pockets within amber have showed that the oxygen level in them was about 37%. We currently operate at about 21%.
you said 37 down to 21?
Yeah, 37 to
Okay.
21, which is your explanation as to why most all creatures shrunk. Because in the
Mm-hmm.
Bible, it tells you that, it tells you people's height, and they were way bigger than we are now. They lived way longer pre flood.
Mm-hmm. Just like the trees lived way longer. It's like it's all
Everything had a
based
lot
on the
more life
tree.
to it.
Mm-hmm. Everything lived long, and all you got to do is go back to the flood. Let's go back to Noah again, right? You go
He was
back to
given
there.
100 years to build the ark.
Mm-hmm. And the trees were massive, and it didn't rain the way it does now. It's like, I mean, I haven't went through the entire whole thought process. This is going to take, sometimes it takes days, weeks, months, sometimes years to
Well,
really
am I correct?
understand what
Did
we're talking
Was it
about.
not stated that it would rain for 40 days and 40 nights?
That's what it says.
Okay, well, if you whack these trees off,
It also
you got
says that
some of them. Wait a minute, hang
the
on, let me
vents
finish this
from
thought.
below were opened.
Well, you got the stumps with the water spewing out of them, the ones that didn't close off when they were cut. You got the
Mm-hmm.
lack of use by the ones that were severed that did not spring a leak. But all of a sudden, you've got this complete change in the atmosphere with
Mm-hmm.
steam, sunshine, and so it's going to start raining. I mean, the system is going to start circulating until it equalizes again and the water slows down.
Mm-hmm.
40 days and 40 nights is what it took for the climate to adjust to where it stopped raining,
To reset itself.
to reset itself. That thought just come to me. I had to
Yeah.
completely get it out before I lost it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. You have
Because,
to.
I mean, we can tell geologically on this earth, regardless of what your religious belief is, we can tell there was a flood. We can actually tell there's multiples, but they only really tell you about one. And when I say that, I say they. We all know who they is. We know without a shadow of a doubt there was a flood. Something happened.
It's clear.
It's clear. It's
What
evident. If
caused the flood is the question now. Now we could say, well, God caused it. Okay, fine. But there are actual events when God causes things. When our Father causes things, He uses things. He uses people. He uses creatures. He uses everything. And just like the dark side is trying to do, they try to be like God, and they try to use everything as well to to achieve their goals. But let's say that the the that the flood happened. There's clear evidence, whether you want to call it mud flood evidence, whether you want to call it whatever. But there's clear evidence that something happened and these trees were all whacked off, like kind of like this image you're looking at here. Something happened.
Well, and you also
And
got to
then
think
when that
about,
happened, what happened after that? The flood.
well,
Right.
and think about, okay, like over in the chemical Chernobyl, they
Mm-hmm.
planted hemp everywhere at Chernobyl. The hemp is literally cleansing the earth of all that nuclear waste. Plants are filters. Trees are filters. All the
Mm-hmm.
contaminants in the ground, these trees take them up, reprocess the chemicals. So all of a sudden, something of this size that just stops doing its job. If 80% of the employees in America stayed home tomorrow, we'd be in trouble. That's what the world was when 80% of the filter in the water consumption was just whacked off
Mm-hmm.
to keep the
But yet it has to
monsters
go.
from
It has to
surviving.
go somewhere else. And what it does is, it makes complete logical sense that if it's true, and I think it is, that you had these giant trees, because there's evidence everywhere. If it's true, if that's true, and we can see that they were cut down, then it's clear that water, and it would have just massively changed. It would have been a full-on reset. Okay, it would have massively changed everything, and it makes sense to me that it would have flooded, basically flooded the earth. And where there are oceans now, there wouldn't have been oceans because that water would have been in the use of the trees. The trees, they use water and then they release it, just like we use water, but then we release it. Everything is recycled. Nothing's ever created or destroyed, no matter what you do with it. It's all recycled, basically. And I mean, this image that we've got here that we came up with actually is really good. I mean, look at the lower areas of the below this giant tree here, and the water pouring down, just like up in the mountains where you see the waterfalls and stuff.
Well, and
But
even when you
it's just flooding the landscape.
think about the topography of the continents. I mean, there will be rivers where there were never rivers before because that water is so massive coming out of a stump that it's cutting gorges in the earth as it goes through. I mean, you know what I mean? It's even once
Mm-hmm.
everything subsides over time, these things are going to cut rivers where it's flowing, rivers where there never were
Mm-hmm.
rivers before.
Mm-hmm. Like things, it make you even think about things like these giant canyons around the world, and not just necessarily like the Grand Canyon. Think of wow, okay, right off of New York. Let me pull it up. As a matter of fact,
Well, one of the biggest granite deposits in the world is right there in North Carolina, where they filmed Mayberry at. What is it? Not May. It's actually Mount Pilot. That area where Mount Pilot, the
mm-hmm.
flat top mountain, is one of the biggest granite deposits on Earth. Sit. You can see it from space. They say. They say. They say.
Mm-hmm.
Aerial photography shows it.
They
We'll leave it
say
like that.
they ain't never been there, but anyways,
They
yeah,
say they ain't never been there, but they got some good satellite
yeah,
images
you
of
can
low orbit.
low orbit stuff. Yes.
It's amazing how now when
If we
when you're
look
saying something, you
at,
go from space, you catch yourself, you're like, nope, deprogram,
yep, got to deprogram.
deprogram.
Here's an image of let's see, I don't know if it's high enough resolution, but we'll see. Let's open this up. Okay, so this is off of Long Island, right, off of New York. And if you look down here at the bottom, you see what's called, uh, depending on if you're on a phone or not, you should be able to see that. But it says Babylon Canyon right there where my mouse is at. And there's another one called Ryan Canyon, and there's the Hudson Canyon.
Can you back out
But
on
the
that picture a little bit, please?
back out,
Yeah.
you mean
Oh,
like that?
okay. Never mind. It's not going to do what I want it to do. Never mind. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We can maybe we could do something else.
I
Let's
wanted
do
to show you
Google
something. Yeah, on Google Earth, that's what I was doing the
Google
other
Earth.
day. Like, if the ocean, we know the ocean level
See
changes,
if I
sea
can
level
type.
changes. But if you jack that bad boy way back, and most continents have a little bit of a shelf around them, back off past that
Mm-hmm.
shelf, and that'll tell you what Earth might used to have looked like.
Mm-hmm.
I spent
Yeah.
way too much time on a minerals resource map the other day.
Let's see what we see using their ball.
Because sometimes when you just overlap the colors on the mineral, you can see stuff. You can see the patterns of like where this is or that is. And then if you take that and cross reference with what kind of tree grows in that area, you'll see that, like, on the East Coast, there's more particular this kind of tree that grows. And because of climate differences. And you'll see the difference in your mineral deposits. Oil, coal.
I'm working on getting it here for us. It's just, I'm kind of maxing out my PC a little bit, I think. Come on, you can do it.
Well, most continents have that lighter color around the edge where the water is more shallow. What if that water never used to be there? And when I take the map, I actually got a copy of a map where someone had removed the water, like backed the water all the way out. And there's a lot of singular continents that wouldn't have been singular. There'd have been a lot more land mass there, a lot more land bridges. Yeah, you can see it. That's a deep gouge there.
This canyon right here, all these canyons, they're all bigger than the Grand Canyon. That's one thing you have to realize. You can go look that up and prove it to yourself. But these canyons, this is where obviously water ran off of what used to
And
be
cut the land.
the highland, And you can see that a whole lot of water run off at some point and cut these gouges in the side of the plateau, you might say, or the planet. It cut them, a ton of them. And
it cuts them right on further out, too.
And look, even got some tree stumps out here that are still there. Now, I'm not going to say that this map is accurate as to what really is there. I'm assuming that there's a lot of these canyons there that are true there, and I've went and looked up some video of a lot of people going out and diving on some of these canyons, so apparently they're there. What I'm saying is I don't believe everything I see on Google Earth. But if you're looking here, though, it looks like we've got some tree remnants that are out there in the ocean, and we've got all this area where the water massively ran off at one point. And then after it ran off, ultimately, it then filled back up and flooded. So there's been multiple events. Just to get this topography, you have to have a massive runoff and then another massive flood on top of it that never receded all the way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, see, this all started for me beyond the trees when I had to figure out why different seas had different salt contents, different bodies of water. Because if it's coming out of the tree, or excuse me, the waterfall, as fresh water, it's coming down a river, it's still fresh, it drains into the ocean, it's salty because of evaporation. The ocean evaporates. There's salt in all water, just the salinity of it is different. So, it kind of like, you got more salt in the ocean because the water portions evaporate and it rains back down. Well, there's still fresh water coming up from below. And then I started looking at all the bodies of water around the earth and what their different, salt composition was. And that's when I started looking at the shelves and the lakes and like how that water got there. Because I don't think that water used to be there.
Just out of curiosity, have you guys looked in much on the Mariana Trench? I think that's what it's called. The deepest trench known in the ocean. how that one guy discovered
Is
that
that the
there
one in the
was.
Atlantic?
I can't remember exactly where it
Water
is.
under the water?
Yeah, but it had a totally different density. It was. Sorry, I'm having a hard time talking, guys. I'm coming out. But it was almost like it was solid, but it was water. It's just interesting because I'm curious as to if that is some kind of a portal or barrier for the waters underneath.
Okay, well,
Well,
check
it
this out.
seemed like the density of that water was much more dense because
Right.
they couldn't go through it. And I do
Okay,
remember seeing some things about that.
well, this is where my
Go
salt
ahead, Roxy. I
research
know.
took me, Shannon.
Okay.
As the fresh water comes out of the waterfall and the rivers and the lakes, drains into the ocean becomes salty. The ocean keeps about a 3.5, I think it was, till you get up close to Antarctica where it's really cold. And then the salt kind of starts forming into these chunks and drops to the bottom of the ocean.
Okay.
It forms like this rock structure. It's like, the water gets a little bit saltier, and then all of a sudden, just bam, the salt falls off and the ice forms. It's so cold.
You mean that like the density gets so high that it crystallizes?
Yes, like okay, let's say you're closer to Antarctica.
You're almost describing rain underneath the water, but it's
Right,
raining
of
not
salt.
water. It's raining.
Now,
It's raining
the
salt
more
pellets.
denser the salt content, the thicker the water becomes. And I know this because I went to a float tank one time,
Yeah.
which is like this super salty
Yeah.
water. You can't sink in
More
it. It's
buoyant.
like laying on
It's very
jello.
hard to drown in the ocean.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's hard
like
to
the one
drown
I
in the
went to.
ocean.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking of, in a sense, like the womb is like a portal, right? It's even
Very
considered
much.
to be called the matrix. That is what the womb really means. It means matrix. This, so if that in essence is like a portal, down there I feel like that salinity or that the density of that water is more along the lines of that kind of womb portal matrix thing. And it
Yep.
just is, it brings up the whole idea of that being like the portal of how this water, some of these waters from below just came spraying out and caused all this stuff along with the trees and all, the waters from above. But they don't know much about it. I haven't heard any updates on anything along those lines. As a matter of fact, I think the guy who discovered it is no longer alive, but I could be wrong on that.
Well, one of the
I'll have
best electric conductors just happens to be super cold, salty
salty
water.
water. Mm-hmm.
Imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody fights over Antarctica.
Imagine that.
We're all going to be nice.
Yeah,
We're all going to be
we're
nice.
we're gonna blow up every other country, but not Antarctica.
It's a big hunk of ice forming on a chunk of salt in a salt lake. We're not going to fuss about it. There's no scientific anomaly here. Just look the other way.
What is it that specifically? I'm wondering what is it that it said about what words were used when it talked about the flood and the waters coming from below. I want to find that answer to that question.
Right.
Y'all guys chit chat, and I'm gonna look that up
Because,
here.
I mean, I already have a sense that the space that we know, the outer space, is more of a water-based kind of thing. It's water. I mean, so waters from above and waters from below, but the firmament acts as a barrier and a portal, right? So I don't know. I just feel
Genesis
like there's
7:11.
something to that.
All right, Genesis 7:11. The fountains of the great deep burst open. And
Genesis
then,
7:11. Let me
yeah, I
pull
think is
that
where
up.
it's at.
I can pull that up here. You
According
can
to
look at it.
Genesis 7:11, two things happened simultaneously. The fountains of the great deep burst open, waters from beneath the earth, and the windows of heaven open, rain from above.
So it said windows
Windows.
above, and below
Windows.
it, okay,
Yeah, the
right, just
fountains
using
of the
a
great
symbolic
deep
word.
burst open,
The
the windows
fountains.
of yeah, the windows of
Okay.
heaven opened. But why would the windows of heaven pour rain?
Well, we're going to
Pour
go.
water, because that is it's water. It's not this vacuum of, nothingness. It's water.
It
There was
says,
this amazing
well,
experiment
all
I saw.
creation that exists starts inside of water.
Right. And there was
All
this
life.
amazing experiment that I had seen. I can't remember if it was at Harvard or it was one of those big places, that they had this water and then they shot sound frequency through it, and it created a star like formation. And it just was amazing. And it solidifies the idea that the water is, again, some kind of portal, something to do
Have
with
you ever have you
all
ever
of that on
seen
the
a
outside.
Shannon? Have you ever seen a video of someone with a bright light down in the ocean, and someone's filming them from a little ways away?
Uh-uh.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
should
believe
probably
I have.
might look that up, but it looks like a star in the sky. Is what it looks
See?
like. If you zoom in on a star in the sky, you see what looks like a light source that's you're looking at it through water, and it's because we are.
Yeah.
But you can go find NASA, and they'll give you a real complex reason why that is. But Roxy, what was that? Genesis what again?
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven. Can't forget
Seven
it.
Eleven. Okay, so let's go. We're there at 7-Eleven now. Okay, let's back up. Let's go back up to just the beginning here. Okay, y'all mind if I read just a little bit?
Go for it.
All right. So Genesis 7:1, and the Lord said unto Noah, come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and of the beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female. The fowls, and there's a lot of things I could stop and talk about here, but I'm trying to get to what we're really focusing on at the moment. Of fowls also of the air by sevens, the male and the female, and keep seed alive upon the face of all of the earth. For yet seven days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. And Noah did according to all that the Lord commanded him. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of water was upon the earth. And of course, him being that age, well, it would be interesting if we could just see right now how big Noah was. You know, he was compared to us in reality right now. When he was 600 years old. When the flood of waters was upon the earth, and Noah went in, and his sons and his wife and sons' wives with him into the ark, because the waters of the flood of clean beasts and of beasts that are not clean, of fowls and of everything that creepeth upon the earth. There went in two and two unto Noah into the ark, the male and the female, as God had commanded Noah. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the seventh day of the month. So in the second month, to me, that would be lunar month. That would be like
17th. It's the 17th day. You
17th
said
day.
7th,
Yeah.
17th.
Oh, I said 7. Okay.
Yeah.
So the second month to me, that'd be like May. But that's just an opinion thought. But I think that's like May. Second month, the 17th day. So like this around the 17th of what we consider to be May. Because we've been lied to about our days and months and calendars and everything anyways as well. The 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up. Now let's look at, let's see if we can do this. Let's look at some definitions of some things. Let's try to think which is my
Okay.
right.
When we're
screen.
talking about the size of what they were, the original measurement of cubit was from the bend on the inside of the arm at the elbow to the end of the index finger, or the second finger, bird finger. That was like 18-20 inches is what the cubit was based on, because of the size we think of ourselves as now.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back and redo that math as to what size they might have been, so you'd have to redo your measurement on the cubit, it'll tell you how big they were.
Yeah, it would give you a very
The size of the
close
ark
idea.
is not what you think it would have been.
right.
If you do that math, it's bigger than the biggest cruise ship on the ocean right now.
Way bigger probably. I mean, we all thought, how did they get all the animals on this thing? And I think there's a lot of this. It's like the Bible, the whole Bible. There's a whole lot of symbolism going on. And so some people wonder, how did they get all the animals on the ark? Well, again, there's a whole lot of symbolism going on, and I'm not going to claim I understand it exactly, all of it. But yeah, if you look at the cubit and start looking at the trees, the animals, the people, I mean, we're talking major difference. Let's see. Let me see which one of these words we want to
Icon
look
of
at
the
here.
Seas is the current largest cruise ship. I can't remember what the name of it was. I did the math the other day. Noah's Ark would have been bigger than the Icon of the Sea. I think it's by about 6%, 10%. That's a big ark.
That'd be a big ark. That'd be a
That
massive
ark
It'd be
has
the size of a modern city.
that one. That cruise ship can hold 7,600 people. Has 20 decks.
It can hold how many people?
7,600 people. Now that's, cabins, full cabins and staff.
Mm-hmm.
Maximum capacity is 7,600. It normally carries about 5,600 on a double occupancy cruise.
Well, and there are parts of that ship that are sectioned off for activities and other things built into it too. So
Oh yeah,
Cargo.
if you took out, let's see, it has 8 themed neighborhoods, a aqua dome performance, a water park, Broadway style shows. I think there's like 3 decks. So if you put all the people in those spaces, you have 10,000 capacity ship easy. That's a lot of people.
So here's the definition of fountains. It's H4599 in the Strong's Dictionary, which is Hebrew. It translates back into Hebrew, and it says, as a denominative in the sense of a spring, a fountain, also collectively, figuratively, a source of satisfaction, fountain, spring, well, and that's fountains. And then it says the great. Let's look at the great. That's 872:27. So it's talking about some fountains that are The great
Okay, does it talk about the earth wobbling?
what? The Bible?
Yeah, when this
No.
happens. The waters, hang on.
Don't
This would
know
have
that
thrown the
it
whole
talk,
earth off its axis to take these trees and displace them.
nowhere in the Bible does it say the earth moves. It says it's stationary. It even says it's unmovable. Yet we're flying through space on a ball. Okay. Well, I guess
Yeah.
we don't believe in the Bible. Um, so the great. I'm just looking to see here, but keep your thoughts going or whatever. I'm just doing one thing at the same time. We're all here trying to figure this out. Let's
I'm
see.
sorry, I forgot to talk. I went to reading. I mean, I'm thinking of the mathematical, like a tree that massive, its weight falling.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd the tree go? Because there were to be a blooming crater up under where that monster fell. And
Well,
so
there should
then
be
you
that,
you
and
think
there should
about the
also be
shifting
some
of all of
remnants
that
somewhere.
weight at once.
Which book in the Apocrypha talks about the archangels being asked to cut down the trees? Because I know it talks about that, and I can't remember which book it is in the books of the Apocrypha. If it's Jubilee, I can't remember. If you if anyone knows, please let us know in the comments.
Let's
Because to me,
try to
I'm
figure that out.
thinking maybe the angels took those trees or did something with it, or you know, I don't know. There has to be some more
Daniel 4,
explanation.
Right.
the Daniel 4, the dream of the chopped down tree. I don't know. Hang on, I'm looking. I'm doing some searching. I'm sorry, guys. I know I quit chatting out there, but my brain went to thinking.
Okay.
Well, I mean, my science brain kicks in, and I'm thinking to myself, those trees, the actual weight of that tree, if we're talking about a stump, because those are clean cut. Okay, my ex-father-in-law was a tree dude. That's what he did. He was a logger. Sorry, can't think of the word. You know, I've seen him cut a lot of trees. If you cut a tree with a chainsaw, if you're standing beside it, you cut that tree at a wedge so it'll, fall in a particular direction.
Right.
The only time I've ever seen a tree of any great size be cut that flat was with a saw blade. And even most of the time when it does kick off of that stump, it leaves a dent in the stump. But either way, if the tree falls, it's going to leave a dent in the earth where it fell. So were they clean cut and lifted up? Did the angels take the trees with them? Who took the trees? Where'd the trees go, man?
Well, it's a fair enough question.
They stole our trees.
I'm looking for the answer every day.
I need this answer. This is my everyday quest. It's always who took it, who stole it. I always think somebody stole
Or
something.
what happened to it.
Or what? Yeah. Did
It-
God transform it into something else? Like, God has
Well,
the power
and
to do that.
See, this is where my whole brain went the other day on the whole mineral deposits, because we know that when biomaterial breaks down, it turns into a different chemical composition. There's granite, there's quartz, there's coal, we've talked about all of them. So then I started looking at like topographical maps. If the tree did fall off of that stump, what we think is a stump like Mount Pilot, I went 360 degrees and I went, okay, where is the vein of whatever geological material was there?
Right.
That's where I'm at. Then I got into Earth's magnetism
I mean,
and radiation.
We know that if the water rose, that the trees could have floated somewhere. We know logs float, so I would assume maybe, just maybe, that's the way it worked back then too. That logs would float. Now, of course, it would take a lot of water, but
Okay, I
we're
hadn't
talking about a
calculated
lot
that.
of water, huh?
I hadn't calculated that.
Yeah, they would
I'm
float
taking
off.
notes.
They would potentially float off, but they still should go somewhere. Now, the stumps, they couldn't float off. They would stay rooted where they're at, and they would have to be under the water because the water was now rising. There was a flood where it got really deep, but then after the flood, it started to subside and it come down, come down, come down. But most of these tree stumps would have still been under the water, and this is why it was easy for them to petrify. But the trunk of the trees, they would have been up floating on top of the water, and this would have caused rot. Uh, in today's terms, it would have caused dry rot, where like if you see the trees that have fallen into a river or whatever, all the materials in that tree will ultimately leave it, and you got nothing left but like this white looking remnant of what was a tree that is no longer strong, and it's not petrified because it's exposed to oxygen. Petrification generally only takes place beneath, either most likely beneath the water. Um, so there's a few of my thoughts. I looked up a related scripture, which is Dan 4:14, and he's talking about this is Daniel was talking about his regarding Nebuchadnezzar's dream, because it talks about Nebuchadnezzar being likened to a massive giant tree. Um, but in reference to the dream, he says he cried aloud and said, because I don't know where we'll find the answers. We do the research sometimes live right here on the Supernatural Show. So
Well, when your brain takes off, you got to follow it.
You got to go. I mean, what do y'all guys want us to do? Say, show's over. We'll tell you next week.
Well, see, now you're talking about the tree floating off, so now I'm thinking, okay, well, now maybe I need to look for deposits in a straight line or a certain length, because I've calculated, I've taken a lot of the flat top mountains and compared them to, okay, like Mount Pilot seems to be one I've focused on, but most everything up there seems to be like granite. These stump-like things I can find seem to be granite. So then I go in the area and find the largest tree there and try to get a breed off of what maybe it might have been, height-wise, width-wise. If that tree falls in a 360-degree circle, I should be able to see a vein of granite.
Look into what wood looks like when it no longer floats and sinks to the bottom of the ocean or sinks to the bottom of the lake. Go look and see what it looks like now, and you'll find out what it looks like then, or what it looked like then, or pretty close to it probably. It's going to be different in some way, but I bet we'll find it. I want to read this real quick. He says, hew down the tree and cut off his branches, shake off his leaves, and scatter his fruit. Let the beasts get away from under it and the fowls from his branches. And it's referring to Nebuchadnezzar as a tree. Let's keep going. Nevertheless, leave the stump of his roots in the earth. That's interesting. Even with a band of iron and brass, in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven. And let his portion be with the beasts in the grass of the earth. So let's see here. That's interesting about iron and the brass, but let's see. Let it be wet with the dew of heaven. Just a reminder for myself. 4:16, let his heart be changed from man's, and let a beast's heart be given to him unto him, and let 7 times pass over him. So what does
White flag, you make sense. I'm sorry.
What does white flag say?
Logs equal mountain ranges.
Yeah, very, very well could be.
Also,
Could be.
I found some more scripture that is also in reference in this instance. It is, what is it, Ezekiel 31, but it talks about Pharaoh as the felled cedar of Lebanon. And you know what's interesting is There, right by Lebanon, just across the ocean, is the island of Cyprus, and it literally talks in these passages about this tree that was like in Lebanon, and how wonderful and huge it was and all this stuff, and how it had fallen, and how the pharaoh is in comparison to that tree. But I mean, it is literally called Cyprus, this island, you know what I mean? And it's
Mm-hmm.
it's right next to Lebanon. It to me, I think that was there. It's a literal tree he's speaking of.
If you look at, if you imagine the water gone because it was up in the trees and in the air because it did not rain back in those days. If you imagine that being all dry land, look at it in a different way like that, and you'll probably see it. Because I'm recently just having to realize too. Okay, let's take this water and get rid of it and put it in the trees. That's where it's at that time, and they'll look at it a different way, and it's going to answer some questions for sure. So thank you, Roxy, for helping us realize that one.
I keep trying to take it from like a 50,000 foot view, not from the fact that I'm barely 5'5". Instead of looking up, I'm trying to get up there and look down and think about what it might have looked like, and how that looked like when it changes. What were all the pieces of the puzzle that it changed?
Mm-hmm.
Fax is in the
Yep,
house.
exactly. Hey, Fax, what's up,
Hey,
buddy?
Fax.
Good
I
to see
emailed you.
Let's see here. Trying to think. I smell smoke. Must be me thinking.
Oh Lord, has the sawdust caught a fire?
Right. Um, I think we should, because I've got some more thoughts and some more things I want to go into. Why don't we jump over to Beyond the Veil, um, and see if let me show you guys what I'm talking about here. Let's see here. I can just use this so you guys can see it.
See now, Roxy, you've got me Google Earthing Cyprus. Oh
I know.
my gosh.
And get rid of
Back
the
off.
water.
That's what I'm saying. Back off at 50,000 foot on Google Earth and start looking at things, and things tend to look different. I hear you, Carla. Sorry, Carla. I got like 3 things going on. I got a grandchild, two grandchildren fighting via Snapchat.
Oh, yeah. So, guys, if you go to Beyond the Veil, first off, go to TheSupernatural.Show, and then click on that button that says Beyond the Veil. You'll come here, and there's a video. There's 2 video screens, okay? As you can see here in a second. There's the one at the top, which we're live on right now, as you can see. We're there. But there's still an audio problem on that feed. So if it starts to play, like, pause it, okay? Because you don't want this one to be the one running when we're going to do what we're getting ready to do. This one down here, this second window right down here, because you got the one above, okay? Then you got a second one down here. This is the one we're going to transition to right now. The reason why you want to use this one is because it allows y'all guys to be able to see more things that I can put up, put it that way, okay? And it also, if you log in, it will allow you to chat. All you do is you come here to the bottom area here, and you click these 3 little lines, and it'll drop down, and it'll say sign in. So then sign in to your Supernatural Show account, and you can have a free account. It'll still work. And as soon as that closes, close. My internet's running very slow. There we go, because I'm
Got too much all to go at once.
So, but if you sign in, you should be able to chat. We're going to try that chat engine, that chat method, because that solves our chat issue too if we do it this way. Okay. You may wonder why is there two. The one at the top is for, like it says, it's for the pre-show. So if you want to show up before we go live, you things and joking around and getting ready for the show. And then when we start the actual show, then you watch that on like, you could stay here and watch it, but you may want to go to whichever one of the platforms, whether it be Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, any of the other ones that we're live on. You can go there, and then because you can participate in the chat. Then when we go beyond the veil, that's when we come to this one below. Okay, that allows us to not be broadcasting to YouTube, Facebook, any of the 10 platforms, 11 platforms that we broadcast live to, so that we're not on their servers. Okay, because if we're on their servers and we say one wrong thing, we're no longer on their servers. They can terminate the
FYI, everyone,
but if we come
Roxy's
here,
TikTok page has been banned.
no, not banned, terminated.
Yeah, but well, if you go try to find me, it says this account has been banned by TikTok.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't no coming back.
When we come over here beyond the veil, we can
And again,
we can literally watch movies. We can show you anything that's like copyrighted or any kind of music, anything. The rules are off when we're over here. Okay, and we can talk about whoever we want to talk about. What were you gonna say, Shannon?
oh, I was just gonna tell her the content she got banned for. You know, that's a touchy subject apparently. So it's okay.
Apparently, right? But we can talk about that over here. So if you want, Roxy's channel got terminated, she'll tell you when we go beyond the veil. And we're also just going to continue this conversation that we're having for a little while. So, and we need to test that beyond the veil and see if it's going to work right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transition us to a intermission video, you might say, that will play for about 5 minutes, and then this stream will end. It'll give you time to go to the restroom, do whatever you need to do, and you can come back. And when you come back, the link is below the video. You can jump over there right now. That top window is already active, but you don't want to be watching at the same time. It's going to create a echo for one for you, and possibly it can eat up too much of your bandwidth, so you can't. But you could try, but you need to mute one of them at least. But yeah, we're going to do that, and I'm going to start an intermission video, which is our Beyond the Veil interlude, you might call it. And when this stream ends, I will then execute a new stream to start for Beyond the Veil, and it will not be running through Rumble or YouTube or anything. Will be truly Beyond the Veil. So anybody need to say anything before we go?
No, I'm gonna take a 2-minute while we're out.
All right, so it's TheSupernatural.
See everybody over there,
and then click on Beyond the Veil. Get logged in, and if you don't have an account, you can still watch. You just won't be able to chat. But if you want to set yourself up an account, you got about 5 to 8 minutes, maybe even 10, and we'll be live there. See you there, guys. And everybody, if you're gonna leave this window open, mute up. If not, don't worry about it. But mute up until we get over there. But don't forget to unmute, because then we'll have audio problems. Best thing to do is probably close the window. And no, don't close your window, because we're using the same thing. Just mute up. Okay, Shannon, Roxy, everybody. Just mute up until we get over there. I'll see you there.
It's a twister! It's a twister!
I imagine right now you're feeling a bit like Dorothy. landing in Oz in a realm that just does not feel quite like home. I can see it in your eyes. You have the look of a man who does not accept what he sees, because he suspects everything his eyes present to him is a lie. Ironically, this is very close to the truth. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know, you cannot explain, but you can feel it. You have felt it your entire life, that something is wrong with this world, that has been presented to you with the full expectation that you accept it and never question it. You don't know completely what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind driving you mad. It is this feeling that brought you here to me, to now, to a choice. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you want to know what it is? It is the supernatural image and word of God. It is all around us right now, even in your very room where you are sitting at this moment. You can see it when you peer into the mirror at your own reflection, or when you take a photo of a friend. You can feel it when the sun shines, or when a wave in the sea crashes upon you. You can taste it when you bite into an apple, and see it when you tear open a fruit. You can feel it when you caress a woman, or when a woman caresses you. And you can see it upon the woman's body, the breasts, the buttocks, and eyes alike. It is there when you speak or when you take a breath. You can hear it when the great owl screeches, or see it written upon his face. You can see it coming when a whirlwind is nearly upon you, and hear it when the thunder rolls. And you can feel it when the wind blows. It is the world that exists beyond the veil. It must be perceived with the mind before the eye can see it. A world that no one ever informed you of, yet you know it's there. If you speak of it, others will say you're crazy, for you must believe what they believe. Like everyone else, you were born and introduced and convinced of a false reality, a false world, a prison world designed so that you would not see, hear, smell, taste, or touch the supernatural reality of the true world. They built a prison for your mind and a hell for your soul, and they pray to their gods that you will never wake up. Unfortunately, no one can be shown what the supernatural world is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You hit the back button, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you believed before this moment. Or you continue watching and you cross beyond the veil. And I will show you what is behind the wizard's curtain. Remember, all I am offering you is the truth. Nothing more, nothing less. It is now time to choose. Go back now or continue beyond the veil.